PharmaVentures, experts in deals and alliances.
Hello and welcome to PharmaVentures Insights here at On Helix in Cambridge 2017. The UK biotech industry has been around since the 70s and was hailed then as a great saviour of the pharmaceutical industry. There have been several roller coasters since those days, but there's also several successes. One of those successes is Astex, and joining me today on the show is Harren Jhoti of Astex. Harren, welcome.
Thank you.
So it's good to hear about a success story in the UK biotech industry. Perhaps you could tell a little bit about how Astex got to be successful, and then maybe we'll move on to the wider industry.
It's obviously a very long story, and we started back in 1999, where I set the company up with two professors from Cambridge, Tom Blundell and Chris Abel. And the original plan was to build a platform to discover small molecule drugs in a new way. And this new way is now called fragment-based drug discovery, which is actually quite popular within the industry. And that's always a good sign of a successful technology when other people are also doing what you set out to do. So we started the company, raised quite a bit of venture capital funding, around £80 million in total in the end. Did a lot of deals with Big Pharma where we would apply the technology to targets of interest from the bigger pharma company, and had milestone royalty-based deals within that type of relationship. So we have been focused primarily in oncology in the first 10-15 years of our existence. We were able to establish quite a bit of success in these collaborations because we were able to generate quite a bit of revenue, significant upfront monies as well as R&D funding. And so as the story evolved, the company evolved, we moved into the clinic with our partners, but also our internal pipeline as well. One of the challenges on a corporate level for the company came around in 2008, 2009, where we were planning to do an IPO, given that we'd had VC funding for coming on to 7-8 years at that time. But there really was no IPO window here in London. And so we took a quite radical move or step, which was by combining or merging with a company which is already public, actually a company which is public in the US. So a NASDAQ listed company called SuperGen, we decided to merge with and that allowed us to become a NASDAQ listed public company, obviously be able to access the public markets to continue to drive the development of our pipeline.
And was the driver for that because you wanted to get onto the public markets, or because SuperGen had things that were complementary to, or a combination of both?
Yes, it was a combination of both. From our side, it was a key driver was to get onto the public markets, to be able to access a lot more capital, because we had several compounds in phase 2 clinical trials at the time, and so you simply can't fund that kind of development by remaining a private company. Well, certainly not those days. Maybe you could argue these days you might be able to. But the other dimension to that was SuperGen were also looking for what they described as a successful discovery engine, and an opportunity to also transform their particular corporate image, because they'd had quite a checkered past.
Right.
They were successful though, because they actually had significant revenues coming in from a drug called Dacogen at the time. So, which was pulling in around maybe $100 million a year, and at its peak sales. But they had strong development and regulatory experience. So what they were missing to be a fully integrated R&D organisation was, if you like, the front end, and perhaps a better brand.
Right.
And so we merged the companies, and we renamed the new company Astex Pharmaceuticals in 2011.
Right. And subsequent to that, you were acquired by Otsuka, of course.
So 3 years later, yes. So then we became part of the Otsuka family. So in 2013, we were acquired by Otsuka. And really the driver for Otsuka was twofold. In one sense, it was to get access to the fragment-based discovery platform we developed in Cambridge here in the UK. The other driver clearly was also the development component, and the fact that there were some interesting drugs which were being developed, and we were in phase 2, phase 3 at the time. And a more strategic goal, probably from Otsuka's perspective, was to use an organization where you have an R&D footprint in the West to really help Otsuka Japan begin to transform the way they do R&D.
Right.
So bring in more innovation, etc., and to really think about R&D in a more progressive way, shall we say.
Right. And interestingly, you didn't become Otsuka UK, you stayed as Astex, so clearly that was a conscious decision to retain the culture and the identity of Astex?
That was very much the case, and in fact they were very clear that they wanted us to carry on operating as Astex. So today we're a wholly owned subsidiary of Otsuka Pharmaceuticals, but we operate as Astex Pharmaceuticals. And that was twofold. Firstly, they understood how important the culture was to the organization, so we still operate very much as a biotech. And secondly, because we built a pretty strong brand, they didn't see the reason to actually change that or risk losing that by renaming the company. And that's really resulted in very good retention of all our key staff because we were able to carry on operating very much as Astex.
Okay, so you've seen the timeline from initiation right through to acquisition and all the growth along the way. Looking back with the wisdom that you have now, would you have done things differently, and or any major things that have gone, yeah, that was really, or it was all great?
Well, I mean, we all have rose-tinted glasses, don't we? I think we're evolved to forget some of the pain. I mean, especially if you're a parent, you do forget all the sleepless nights. But no, broadly, I think we were very fortunate. We were able to attract fantastic people. The harder you work, the more lucky you get, as they say. We obviously worked very hard, and we've enjoyed a good level of success. Could we have done something differently? Would have made different choices? I think one question which perhaps around 2007, 2008 we were posed with was, why is it that we can't do an IPO in London, given that we are effectively a very well set up biotech organisation with a very strong platform, good partnerships and compounds in clinic? If you took a company in the US with that kind of profile and with the kind of calibre of VC backing that we had, people as Abingworth and Apex, it would have been obvious. Yeah. And we used to hear that so much from the US investors because we had a lot of US VC investors. So I guess convoluted in that was a question, had we set the company up in the US, would we have been able to have a less convoluted trajectory? Who knows?
Yeah.
But maybe that is a question. But then we wouldn't have been able to attract the scientists that we did.
Of course.
So
of course.
Impossible to answer.
So rolling forward to today's UK biotech scene, if somebody was starting up Astex again, yes. Would they be able to do what you did? Is the environment the same? I think everybody wants to do things quicker, faster. It's the instant gratification thing these days. Yes. So is the environment just not there yet, or is the infrastructure different and better that would enable small biotechs to come through? I
mean, I think it's actually been transformed, the whole life sciences ecosystem in the UK in the last 15 years or so, to transform in a good sense. You have a lot more appetite from big pharma to want to do collaborations with biotech and with academia. You have a lot more alignment in early stages of drug discovery to set up these types of collaborations. Having said that, we did a lot of early stage collaborations, and that, in fact, very recently we saw the fruits of one of them come through. So a drug called ribociclib was developed with Novartis. In fact, they did all the clinical development and the late stage preclinical work. and we were involved in that project in the discovery stage. And that got approved by the FDA for breast cancer a couple of months ago. So that's our first drug, which has come through all the way to market, which is a fantastic achievement, and with great fulfillment in terms of seeing a medicine being able to deliver to patients who desperately need that medicine. And you've been part of that. So that's a great example of a success story, and a UK success story. So that clearly, underlines how collaborations can be successful. And in today's UK biotech environment, I think there is great appetite for doing many of these types of collaborations. So I would say to any budding CEO with a new company, this is a great time to be starting a biotech company. Not only VC money, which is still there, there's a lot of corporate funding as well, and a lot of investment coming from people like the Wellcome Trust, MRC, or LifeArc as they're now called, CIUK. They have funds as well to be able to provide startup money for new ideas. So I think it's great. I think it's excellent.
The future is bright.
The future is very bright.
Harren, thank you very much for sharing your insights with us today.
Great, thank you.
Thank you. For more information about PharmaVentures, visit our website